Hello, welcome to Kelly Soroka Life, the home of the Broom and Moon Coven. So today I am bringing you another live reading on this Friday afternoon or Friday morning, wherever you are. And it's a very interesting topic. The reading is called Validating the Ego. And this is one of the readings that I made up for myself over about a year that I went and kind of a whole time that I was writing spreads for myself. And this was one that came up, this topic of the ego. And it is very interesting because it ties into a lot of astrology. Because when we talk about the houses, that we talk about, ourselves and how our sign that we're born into brings us, can kind of inform our ego and the other parts of our personalities. And over the years, the ego has gotten a bad reputation as, we don't want to have a big ego because that means we're pushy or we're, overwhelming, or we are narcissistic or something like that. And so the ego has kind of gotten a bad reputation, but it's something that we need. It's something that we all need, and it's part of our personalities, just like the other parts of our personalities. And but the ego is the part that is kind of the I, the part that makes us who we are and helps us make decisions and helps us to navigate life and to have relationships. And so we don't want to, we want to always work to have a balance in the different parts of our personality. And sometimes we need to have, rely more on our ego, and sometimes we need to rely more on other parts of our personality. But that's, again, that's part of being human, and that's part of being, being who we are, and being true to ourselves. And I liked this reading because it asks about validating your ego and looking at how being maybe you are being overbearing in a way because you have been hurt, or you feel you're still working on some shadow issues, or you've been the part of a traumatic situation. And sometimes that ego takes over, and we do overcompensate in ways. And so maybe that is how you are, and you're in that phase or in that place. And reading like this can help you, bring out some of that and see where it's coming from, and how you can work with it to repair it, and to heal it, and to bring that balance in. And it can also be that you are underestimating yourself, that you are talking yourself out of things that you should do because you feel like that you're not good enough. And this is where that inner critic comes in, that's saying that, well, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, or something that you really want to be doing, and you, for whatever reason, talk yourself out of it. And so this is where we can work on that place of the ego as well. So before we do the reading, let's just kind of bring ourselves in, and just center ourselves here, wherever you are, whatever you're doing right now as you're listening to this. just take a few deep breaths and bring yourself so that all parts of yourself are listening, and all every part of your your personality, every part of yourself, your authentic self is here and listening and ready for this message. And this message, it might come to you very clearly right now, in a few minutes at the end, or it may come, later today or tomorrow. But just knowing and being open to the possibilities and being open to what comes through in this reading will, really, that's the first step in healing any imbalance or anything, any way that you're feeling in regards to your ego. So this is going to be a reading for all of us today. With this reading. So this is the cards that I drew are our message for all of us, and how we are validating our ego, and how we can, if we need to balance or to move forward, things that we need to do. So this particular reading has 5 questions, and I am using today, this is the Forhoxa Tarot by M.J. Cullinane, and it is a fairy inspired tarot, and I'm using that today because we are studying fairy magic in the Broom and Moon Coven this month. So if you like fairies and you like to work with fairy magic, or you would really like to learn more about working with the wisdom of the fairies, then join us. There's a link that will be in the description, and you can join the coven down below. Okay, so let's get to the questions. So question 1 is, what does ego mean to us? And so here we have this card. This is the 2 of fire, or the 2 of wands. So here, the 2 of wands is about, having that kind of decision point. You have one thing on one side, and you have another thing on the other side. And this place, she has these 2 wands, or these 2 places of fire, one on each side. And so it's being in that middle. It's being in that place of the middle. And so this can tell us that our egos are that place in the middle, that place that kind of, brings in the wildness and brings in the tame, and helps us to bring those things together into a creative place, because the fire is the element of creativity, and the wand suit in tarot, is which this corresponds to, is of creativity and of being passionate. And so we need our ego for that, and we need our ego to bring those things in. And so that's the way that here we can look. One way that we can look at our ego is how does it bring that balance, and how does it show us how to be creative, and how to be our authentic selves. And then question number 2 is, how do we feel ashamed by our ego? And here we have, this card is the 6 of air. So here, this is the 6, and this corresponds, the air element corresponds to the swords suit in tarot. So this would be the 6 of swords. And the 6 of swords is about moving on. You see, this person has a lantern in front of her, moving forward into a new place, and moving from this kind of darker background into somewhere that has a light ahead. And so it is, being ashamed is, we all have shadow parts of ourselves. We all have things that we feel like are not where we can't share those with other people, or that we have to keep hidden, or that we have to make ourselves feel smaller, or we have to make ourselves feel that we're not as smart as we are, or we don't know as much as we truly do. And that's part of our ego. Our egos know these things, and we know that we have shadow places that we tend to hang back, and we tend to stay in that shadow. And most of the time we don't really need to. And there's we need to be our authentic selves, and we need to shine that light and to be our authentic selves. And now, granted, there are times when for whatever reason, usually to protect yourself, that you would want to keep something quiet or want to keep something private. And that's different, and that's making a choice for yourself to keep something private and to keep something quiet. But this, in the dealing with our ego, this is when we are choosing not to be ourselves because we're afraid we're going to offend someone else, or that we're going to be considered, too something, too talkative, too loud, too, whatever it is. And so we end up then not being our true selves, not shining that light like we should. And here, don't feel ashamed by it. If there's something that you want to do, there's something that you want to be, and especially if you are in an alternative religion or spiritual practice, that is sometimes really hard to be your authentic self because other people around you just don't accept it. And that is, that might be a place where you do have to choose not to share some things about yourselves. But but finding that place where that you can share it is very important, and that you can move forward into that place. Okay, so question number 3 is, what do we need to validate our ego? So how can we work with our ego to bring it into balance? And this, we have the page of water. So the water element corresponds to the cups suit in tarot. So this is the page of cups. And the page of cups, the page is the first of the court cards. And so it's bringing that new vision, that new way of looking at things with a lot of emotion, and with enough feeling, and with enough depth of understanding that we can then validate our ego. So we really need that grounding, but yet looking at with through the vision of, through your emotional eyes, through your feelings. So looking, and that's the way that we can validate our ego, is looking at how we feel. And our ego then can help us reach that point. How is it that you want to feel? What is your intention? What is it that you are looking for? What is it that you are, just like the Six of Swords, or the Six of Air, with the fairy with her lantern holding out in front of it? What is it that you want to see? And how do you want to feel in the future? Or how do you want to feel, and how can we move towards that? And we do it by staying grounded, and then so that we can work through our emotions, so that we can work through those feelings and get to where we feel good about where we are. And then question number 4 is, what truth does your ego have to share with you? So, what is the truth? So, this is a message from our ego. And so, here we have the beautiful moon card. And the moon is very intuitive, and it's very indicative of cycles, and because the moon works through cycles, it's that really just kind of moving off of this page of water and staying grounded as we move through these emotions, and know that everything is important, and everything is valid, because we're validating our ego, and we're making sure that we keep it in balance with the other parts of our personality. And the moon, just like the moon waxes and wanes, then our personality and our ego, the things that we need from our ego, it waxes and wanes. Sometimes we need a lot, sometimes we need very little, and sometimes everything is really in balance and we feel really good. And then there might be a time when we don't feel very good, or very in balance, but we know what we can do with it. We know that we can do something that's very grounded, and do a meditation, or go for a walk, or something that kind of brings you back to the present. And then question number 5 is, how can we create a better relationship with our egos? And here we have the beautiful 10 of water. And again, the water element corresponds to the cups, suit, and tarot. So this is the 10 of cups. And you see, there are people here celebrating. There's the sun shining. There's a rainbow. There's just all the fish jumping out of the water. And it's just this beautiful scene of just being really happy. And that, I think, is and 10 is the last card in the suit, in the cups suit. And so we've gotten to a place where we feel really good. Not that, going back to the moon, not that things are going to happen that are going to be sad or make us angry, or whatever, because it is. But we know that by creating this better relationship with our ego, and knowing that it is part of who we are, and how we can work with it very well, and work with it so that we bring balance, and that we're moving towards where we want to be in a constructive way. And then we get to that 10 of cups, and it's just, it's beautiful. It's this, feeling this very this sense of authenticity, and knowing that the things that you do just fill your soul. And it's just like me bringing this reading to you. I just this that 10 of cups feeling is knowing that the message is there, knowing that we can share this message together, and we can all support each other and work together to bring ourselves into balance, and help each other and support each other in the work that we all need to do, and the work that we want to do. And so that, having that 10 of cups is just is being there, and being open to the possibilities, and knowing that this is a part of your life that you really that you is valid, and is part of you, that you can express it. And again, we start out with the 2 of fire, making the decision. So you have to start out making the decision that you're in a safe space to share, and that you're in a safe space to be your authentic self, and that you're not talking yourself out of something because of your inner critic, that you truly know that this is a good thing for you to do, and a good path for you to be on. So that's it for our reading this morning, validating the ego on this Friday before Memorial Day in the United States. And so I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and that that you work with your ego and yourself, and do something to validate your ego and to be your most authentic self in on these days coming up. And again, if you want support, if you want a safe space, a sacred space, a community space that you can share your beliefs and practices, and learn more about witchcraft, and be with others who do see you as who you are, then join us in the Broom and Moon Coven, and the link is below. All right, that's it for today, and have a great weekend, and I will see you again next Friday. Bye.